Melody Shari right now, and the situation is shocking the fans. She went live on TikTok and dropped some serious tea about the Fletchers, and from the sound of it, she is officially done with them for good. Stick around until the very end of this video because not only are we going to break down what Melody said word for word, but we're also going to talk about how this connects to other cast members like Marsau, Nell, Chris, and even how Martell plays into this whole dynamic. Trust me, you don't want to miss the details because they reveal a lot more than what's on the surface. So here's where it all started. Melody had what she described as confirmation. She said that confirmation will always come, and when it does, you'll know you made the right decision. And for her, that confirmation was realizing that the Fletchers weren't truly on her side, despite her showing them love and trust. Remember when she had her name change ceremony, a moment that was deeply personal and emotional for her? She didn't invite the entire cast. She kept it small and intimate. And out of all the people she could have invited, she chose to include the Fletchers. That alone should tell you how much respect she had for them. But after what happened, Melody made it very clear that she regrets that decision. In fact, she went so far as to say that if she saw the Fletchers on the street today, she wouldn't even speak to them. She said she would act like they don't exist. That's not just shade. That's a clear line being drawn in the sand. Melody explained that she never talks about other people's business, even when she has the receipts. She said she has DMS, information and stories she could easily expose, but she chooses not to because it's not her style. And that's why she was so disappointed to see that same level of respect was not being given back to her. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Melody revealed that Nell Fletcher had apparently sat down and talked about a moment where Chris Fletcher was asked a question. Nell made it seem like Melody had somehow manipulated Chris into saying something that caused drama. But Melody clapped back hard, saying that's not what happened at all. She explained that all she did was ask Chris a simple question in the moment, and he answered it honestly in his own words. There was no coaching, no camera stops, no say this or say that. Chris spoke for himself. So Melody's question is, why are people making excuses for him instead of letting him stand on his own words? And this is where Melody's frustration really came through. She said that the excuses people keep making are nothing but delusion. She called it out for what it was and said that if Chris said something, then that's on him, not on her. Melody isn't here to babysit anyone or cover up their truth, especially when she herself has been held accountable for everything she's ever said or done on camera. And honestly, she has a point. Why is it that when men in this cast speak their truth, people try to spin it or deflect the blame, but when Melody does the same, she gets dragged? That double standard is exactly what she's fighting against. But wait, the story doesn't stop there. Because right after the reunion, Melody said she got a phone call that left her stunned. And guess who it was from? Marsau. Yes, you heard that right. Marsau Scott called Melody the very next morning after the reunion taping. Now, this is important because we all know the history between Marsau and Melody. They've clashed countless times, and he's even been accused of throwing shade her way. But according to Melody, this phone call was completely different. Marsau was quoting scriptures, which even caught Melody and her friend Lauren off guard. Melody said Lauren looked at her in shock, like, is Marsau really quoting the Bible? Right now, Marsau told Melody that while he had gone along with some of the narrative during the reunion, at a certain point he just couldn't do it anymore. He said that sitting next to Melody, he could see that she was healed, that she had grown, and that she wasn't on the same BS as before. And he admitted that he had to stop himself because it didn't feel right to keep going against her. When the truth was clear, Melody said she appreciated that conversation and told Marsau, God bless you and good luck to y'all. But she also made it clear that it didn't mean they were suddenly close again. She's not speaking to any of them. That era is over, and it's officially done. Now, let's pause here for a moment because this part is huge. If Marsau is reaching out privately to Melody to acknowledge her growth and healing, but on camera or in public, the cast keeps trying to paint her in a negative light. What does that really say about the dynamic behind the scenes? Is this about TV drama, or is this about protecting certain people's images at Melody's expense? That's a question fans need to think about. And I want you to let me know what you think in the comments, because this feels bigger than just a cast disagreement. But Melody wasn't done. She went on to point out that she's constantly being stalked, harassed, and dragged into negativity, and yet somehow some people still choose to side against her. And she called those people out too. She said they're slow, they're delusional, and they're raising up the next generation of entitled, abusive men. That's a strong statement, but Melody didn't hold back. She said that Black women often get ignored or blamed when they speak out. But the second a man says something, people rush to believe him. And for Melody, this isn't just about TV anymore. It's about breaking that cycle of disrespect and abuse. She also made it clear that she's not entertaining the idea of going back into what she called the lion's den. She's not about to surround herself with fraudsters, liars, and people who make up stories. She's focused on her peace, her healing, her business, and her kids. And if that means cutting people off, including the Fletchers, then so be it. As Melody said, it's the end of an era, and she's perfectly fine with that. Now here's the kicker. Fans are reacting strongly to this live. Some are saying they completely understand why Melody cut the Fletchers off, because loyalty is everything, and once that trust is broken, there's no going back. Others are shocked because the Fletchers have often been seen as the neutral, level-headed couple on this show, but clearly, behind the scenes, things aren't as perfect as they look. And this is why Melody's transparency matters so much, because she pulls back the curtain and shows fans the reality. So the real question now is, where does this leave the rest of the cast? Marsau has already reached out. Nell and Chris are clearly on the outs with Melody. Martell is still in his own world causing chaos. And then there are cast members like Tiffany Liu and others who seem to stay out of the mess but are still connected to the group. The dynamics are shifting, and it looks like alliances are changing too. What makes all of this even more interesting is how fans are now starting to question the true role the Fletchers have played in the group this entire time. For the longest, they were seen as the neutral couple, the peacemakers who tried to stay out of the drama. But Melody's Live exposed another side, a side that shows maybe they weren't as neutral as everyone thought. If they were really allowing narratives to be twisted or excuses to be made for Chris's words, then were they ever really loyal to Melody at all? That's the question fans are asking, and it's clear Melody already has her answer. Another layer to this story is how Melody pointed out the constant double standards. When the men on the cast say something, people either excuse it, cover it up, or spin it into something else. But when she says something, it turns into a full-blown scandal with her being dragged. This isn't just about reality TV, which is about accountability, respect, and fairness. Melody made it crystal clear that she's not carrying anyone's truth but her own. And she's not letting anyone put words in her mouth or shift blame her way. And let's not forget the bigger picture. Melody is running businesses, raising her children, and protecting her peace, all while dealing with people who seem more focused on clout and covering each other's mess. So when she says she's cutting ties and moving on, it's not coming from a place of bitterness. It's metzasitz, coming from strength. She knows her worth, and she knows that keeping people around who don't have her back is only going to slow her down. That's why she's so firm in saying the Fletchers are no longer part of her circle. At the end of the day, this situation is bigger than just one friendship ending. It's about Melody reclaiming her power, setting boundaries, and showing that she's no longer tolerating fake loyalty. The fact that Marsau, of all people, reached out to her in private to acknowledge her growth speaks volumes. The cast dynamics are shifting, alliances are breaking. And fans are left wondering who's really standing on truth and who's just playing for the cameras. And if Melody's Live taught us anything, it's that she's not afraid to shine a light on the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it makes people. And don't click away just yet, because by the end of this video, we're going to connect this all back to the bigger picture. How Melody's decision to cut off the Fletchers could reshape the entire cast dynamic moving forward. So keep watching, because the tea only gets hotter from here.